Only rush 3. Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide! A pick 6! From the man who had one against Tennessee just before the half. Mateer's first huge mistake. Simpson this time has a clean pocket, lost it toward the end zone. Brooks! Touchdown Alabama! Crimson Tide have the lead. A 30-yard strike.
Welcome into Morning JOX here on your Monday morning, the week of Christmas. Conrad Van Order, Damian Mitchell here with you. That was just a little bit of a taste of what you got to experience on Friday night there on the broadcast on ESPN from one Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler as Alabama. They find themselves still alive. Their playoff hopes still alive and well this morning as they get a 34-24 victory in Norman, Oklahoma on Friday night to start off the 2025 season edition of the college football playoff. And in hindsight, there's a lot of things we can be critical in this game, just overall, and how the quality of football maybe that was being played at times. But I think it's safe to say now, looking back over the whole weekend, it didn't get any better than Friday night, and that was certainly the most entertaining game of the weekend, I think, by a lot of in a lot of different ways. But it's going to be a fun day today. We're going to get your reaction. That's what we're here to do today. So it's going to be a short week for a lot of us, but we are here today, and we want to spend that time with you and get your thoughts on the big win over the weekend from Alabama, as well as the rest of the first round of the college football playoff. We'll take a little bit of a look ahead to what's coming up on New Year's and, of course, some other happenings around the college football world. But let's dive into the game, Damian. We know that's what everyone wants to talk about, and there are a lot of people. I will just say this. I think Friday was a banner night if you are on social media. If you're familiar with the account Old Takes Exposed, Friday night was it was a long night for a lot of people. Look, I'll be honest. I was chief among them in the first quarter, early second quarter part of that game, where you're sitting there and you're just going, man, this is really the way that it's going to end. Just it looked as embarrassing as it could get. You're down 17-0, 3 straight 3-and-outs offensively, and it felt like a lot kind of like the first game against Oklahoma. It felt like the Georgia game in the SEC championship. I mean, you got about 3 inches away from a block punt early in that game that felt a little similar to what happened in Atlanta. And despite all of that, Alabama finds a way after going down 17-0. They flip a switch and they go 34-7, outscoring Oklahoma the rest of the way, putting up 34 points. That was the most points Oklahoma had given up all year, and Alabama able to do it on the road in a tough environment in the college football playoff and get their revenge from the last 2 times that these teams played. But we'll dive into it, Damian, but just kind of your initial reactions. You're sitting there watching the game. What's going through your mind? And then you start to get a little momentum offensively, right? And really much like a different situation than the Tennessee game, but really the standout moment where the momentum completely shifted, it felt like, was the pick 6 by Xavier Brown before halftime.
Yeah, it was a tale of 2 halves, essentially. I thought initially Alabama, it felt very similar to how the first game went, where it's like Alabama can't get out their own way. But then there were 2 guys that I think have now put themselves in kind of this folklore range. And, we have these jokes or like who are the best players at any given moment. You have untucked Kyrie Irving. You got Olympic Carmelo Anthony. You got masked up LeBron. And you have situations like that. That's how I feel about Xavier Brown at the end of half. That he's reached that point. And Latzir Brooks when the game is on the line. Because when Alabama needed a play, you got it from guys, especially Latzir Brooks, a freshman, who really and truly every time you talk to Kalen DeBoer, even going through fall camp, you kind of had this feeling like, hey, man, 17, when he gets it, he is going to be a difference maker. And he stepped up when his team needed him the absolute most. Of course, all the glitz and the glamour go towards Ryan Williams. We're expecting so many big things from him. Jeremy Bernard, a guy that's been pretty consistent. But the player of the game, to me, was Latzir Brooks on the offensive side of the ball, because anytime Alabama needed something, needed some sort of juice, he was the go-to guy. And just that second half when the defense locked in, Again, that pick six by Xavier Brown was just, I mean, you couldn't have timed it up any better. And John Mateer, I don't know what he was expecting. I think he had a predetermined throw that he was going to make pre-snap, and he didn't even think twice and was letting it go because Xavier Brown was the only person that was going to catch that football. Takes it to the crib, and you kind of felt a little bit of a spark. But altogether, when it comes to playoff situations, it does not matter how you get it done. It's just getting it done. And that's what Alabama was able to do against Oklahoma. And now, yeah, the task is going to be tough against the number one team in the nation. But all you need is a chance. But it's much better to have this conversation as, hey, we can tweak some things. Alabama still cannot run the football. It's evident. But they still found a way to finish the game and win the ball game. So, listen, you still got a puncher's chance to win a national championship. And congratulations, man, because there are a lot of teams that wish they were continuing on in the second round of the college football playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it, again, and I know there'll be people out there that say, well, it doesn't matter. Alabama's still going to, finish with 4 losses for back-to-back seasons. And most likely, yeah, because in order to not do that, you'd have to win the national championship, and that's I still don't think that's going to happen, but you have a chance, right? And that's really all you can ask for. And at this point, you can, leave it, take it or leave it. But, I mean, you're one of the 8 best teams in college football. You're one of the last 8 teams standing, and you have a chance now on New Year's to go and be one of the 4 last teams standing. And so we'll spend, we got plenty of time to talk about that game because that's going to be, I think, a lot of fun out there at the Rose Bowl. But you mentioned it. I mean, Latsier Brooks, he was incredible. He has 5 catches, 79 yards, and 2 touchdowns. That's the best game of his career. That's the most yards he's ever had in a game, and those are his first 2 touchdowns. And that was something I guess I hadn't really thought about because somebody texted me during the game and said, man, I can't believe that was Latsier Brooks' first touchdown. And I was like, man, I hadn't really thought about it. But because he's kind of been there all season long, and you don't really – I just had forgotten that he hadn't scored yet. And so he finds the end zone twice, which was absolutely crucial there for Alabama. You mentioned – the defense really did a fantastic job in the second half once they were able to get pressure. And that's really what it felt like the difference was, right? In the first half, you weren't able to get pressure. In the second half, you were. You finished with 5 sacks on the day. You'll certainly be pretty happy with that if you're Alabama. I mean, John Mateer, he ends up only rushing for 15 yards. I know he had some runs early. And I'll be honest, right? There are a couple times early in the game where, like, people are getting juked out for Alabama, and you're just, oh, Lord, we're getting I'm just saying there's certain players you don't expect to be juking people out, and that was happening, and you're like, oh, this is not the way that things are supposed to go. But I thought Kane Womack, they did a great job in the second half, and again, right, in the first half when they're able to score, it felt very similar to the first game where the field possession game, it was not going in Alabama's favor, right? Oklahoma was getting set up with great opportunities early on, and they were able to capitalize on them. You got to give them credit for that. But it really did feel like there was that kind of, I guess, moment in the second quarter where things just started to not go quite as well for Oklahoma, and you felt like there was an opportunity, right? So Alabama was able to go and score. Obviously, you have I guess you call it a muffed punt, where, I mean, the guy just drops the punt.
He just drops
just
that.
Straight up drops the ball.
He just drops that.
And so then you start to feel a little momentum there. Again, it's weird to say this, but, like, when Connor Talty makes that kick, I really do think that actually, like, fires a lot of people up because you're going into the game, I think, and I don't think anybody there would admit it because they're going to say they have belief in the guy and faith in the guy. But watching the game as a fan, right, I think you're going in with, all right, we're not going to be able to score 3 points this game. So when you do get 3 points, it's like, man, we're playing with house money now, right? And it is kind of ironic that he ends up going 2 for 2 and Sandell ends up going 1 for 3 on his kicks. And that's just kind of the way that ended up going for the game there. But just really a weird game. It was very similar to the first time these two teams met, just reversed. I mean, Oklahoma absolutely crushed Alabama in terms of, they outgained them by about 100 yards, very similar to the first game. They had 18 first downs. Alabama only had 12. They converted 7 third downs. Alabama was only 2 of 12 on third down. They were not good on third down, but they still find a way to win. Alabama only ran for 28 yards. You hit on that. But the key thing there is you had the interception, the big pick six by Oklahoma, and the muff punt. So really you have 2 turnovers for Oklahoma, none for Alabama. And again, very similar to the first time going out. It just ended up in Alabama's favor this time. But just really a crazy game. I can't remember, just watching that comeback unfold before your eyes. It's one of you just don't see those kinds of things happen very often. And it is kind of, again, it's unfortunate for Oklahoma because now they are 0-5 in college football history. They've never won a game there, but they also are now have the two worst, I guess, choke jobs in college football playoff history because they were up 17 on Georgia back in 2017, if you remember that. Which,
fantastic football.
One of the best football games I've ever seen in my life.
Yes.
But they end up losing that one. We know what happened there. Alabama beat Georgia in the national championship that year, and now this year you have a 17-point lead on Alabama, and you let them come back and win. So still a very good year for Brent Venables. You made it to the playoff. I think they definitely exceeded a lot of people's expectations, but that one's going to sting, man. I mean, you're up 17-0 at home against a team you've beaten two times in a row. That one's certainly going to sting for quite some time.
And also, do not forget, for anybody that wants to see, we need to get Austin Mack in the game. We need to get Keelan Russell in the game. Ty Simpson is a dog. Like, he does not shy away from the moments. He looked composed. He didn't look rattled.
Yeah, once he got comfortable in the second half, he was cooking.
Oh, absolutely. Like, it didn't matter what coverage Oklahoma was throwing at him. Bring the pressure. Come on. Okay, I get sacked. I get hit. I get touched up a little bit. Okay, I'm about to bounce right back up, stare this defense right in the face, and absolutely line drives to his receivers. The play that he had to Isaiah Horton there on the sideline, you couldn't have placed it any better. Dropped it right in the bucket on the sideline. I was like, okay, yeah, Ty Simpson ain't going. He's not going out like just bowing out. He has absolutely got that dog in him, 100%. And I think he's one of the mentally toughest and physically toughest quarterbacks that we've seen in a long time. Because there could have been moments in that ball game where he could just, like offensive line, they're just not consistent enough. We can't establish anything in the run game. But all he did was stare adversity in the face and drop absolute dimes all over the field, man. He waited his moment, and he is showing the world that he is not afraid of anything. Like, he is a great quarterback. He really is, man. And yeah, he had some lows there towards the end of the season. He had some highs, he had some lows. But that's just how the season goes. But as far as just what you look at in a leader, in a physical presence, and also just one of the mentally strong just football players that's playing right now, you can't look further than Ty Simpson.
Yeah, that's probably the best that he's looked. I mean, honestly, maybe going back really to that stretch of ranked wins you had over the course of, I guess the Tennessee game would have been the one before South Carolina because that's where it felt like things kind of started to be a little rocky there. But, yeah, I mean, that's the best football I think Ty's played in about 2 months or a month and a half there for Alabama. But he was big. Yeah, he goes 18-29, 232, 2 touchdowns, had that big run to get a first down late in the game as well, so got to use his legs a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, again, everything that could have gone wrong early went wrong, but you found a way to battle back, and you did it in all 3 phases of the game. And I think that's a big part of it as well as, the offense did their job. They go out there, and, I mean, I guess you could say, you give them credit for maybe 24 points. You give the defense credit for 10 because you got the pick six, then the muff punt, which led to a field goal. But still, I mean, you just scored the most points that Oklahoma's given up all year on the road in the playoffs. And that's the best defense in the entire conference. Now, you're going to go play an Indiana team that maybe their defense is even better than Oklahoma's. But, again, you've now seen it. And I think that's maybe the biggest takeaway from this game if you're a fan. What gives you maybe some optimism that the Indiana game isn't, totally out of reach? And that is they felt like they got their mojo back, right? Like, that's really what it felt like watching that game. And, something that I don't think you would say Alabama has done a lot this year. It feels like, like they crushed Oklahoma's soul at one point, it felt like, where they had come back and they were just dominating that game to such a degree that, even when Oklahoma made it 27-24, you're just sitting there like, oh, Alabama's going to go down the field and score and make it 10 points. And that's exactly what they did. And you haven't really been able to say that a whole lot this year about Alabama. But they did that when they needed to most on Friday. And now they will advance to play Indiana in the Rose Bowl coming up on New Year's. But a spectacular performance. Alabama, they have tied for the largest comeback in college football playoff history. And Oklahoma, they wrap up their season. Again, a very impressive season, but one that'll certainly sting with the way that it ended. But it was also a big weekend if you're an Alabama fan because now you can breathe easy. You don't have to worry. Your coach isn't going to go to Michigan. There's no way he's going to leave now. And it looks like for them, they actually have a couple of interesting wrenches thrown into their operation there. So we'll talk a little bit about Kalen DeBoer, what this win means for him. And it's nice. Some people finally giving him his flowers. We'll also let you hear from the Alabama head coach some of his thoughts on the big game from Friday. We roll along. It's a Reaction Monday. Love to hear from you here on Morning Jocks. More Alabama, Oklahoma talk next. Welcome back into Morning Jocks. Here on your Monday morning, a Christmas Monday, as we are just 3 days away from the most wonderful time of year. So hope all of you are, I'm sure a lot of you off of work or out of school already and maybe getting some last minute shopping done, enjoying some time with family this week. So we appreciate you making us a part of your morning each and every day here on the show. And we'd love to hear from you on this Reaction Monday, 205-834-9450. That'll get you on the courtesy GMC text line where you can chime in with your thoughts on the games from the weekend. Alabama, they get a big comeback over Oklahoma. Miami, they take down Texas A&M. And then Ole Miss and Oregon took care of business.
Oh Lord,
as we expected. But we'll
we'll have that conversation later.
We will, because I think there's a real issue that I think everyone's aware of now, and we'll see if that's something that gets addressed here in the near future. But you can chime in and join the conversation like Fanboy does this morning on the courtesy GMC text line. He says, do y'all really think the Indiana defense is way better than Oklahoma and Georgia's?
Yes.
They're good, man.
Way better, but they're better.
I was about to say, I don't know if I'd say way better, but and I get it. They didn't play as tough of a schedule, so it's easy to say, well, maybe some of their stats look prettier because of who they played, and that may be fair, but they're still one of the best. I mean,
just watch them.
I would say Indiana and Oklahoma are both top 5 defenses in the country, so
yes. I
mean, it's one way or the other there. But yes, and I will just say this, because I know we're probably going to hear a lot of this over the next 10 days or so. We'll see, I guess, on New Year's Day, but the amount of people that I just still hear from that are like, Indiana's really not that good, or the amount of people I heard from over the weekend that are, oh, Alabama's going to go and steamroll Indiana. Like, that just tells me, I'm sorry, but that just tells me you haven't actually watched Indiana this year. They're really, really good. Really, really, really good. But I digress. That game's still a little ways out there for the Alabama Crimson Tide. But we'd love to hear from you. We'll get to more of your text here coming up throughout the course of the program. But let's talk about Kalen DeBoer here for a second, because now he gets a big win, a much-needed playoff win there. So I think a lot of fans feeling a little bit better about their head coach this morning, whether you were on the fence still, and maybe now he's made you a little bit more of a believer, or you were somebody that was really worried that if Alabama lost on Friday, that he was no longer going to be your head coach. Well, it certainly doesn't appear that he's going to Michigan anymore. I think that rumors didn't really hear a whole lot of talk about that the last 2 days outside of, yeah, Michigan, there's no way that he's going to Michigan anymore. So it's just kind of funny how quickly things change for people. And bad weekend for the media. And I know we're part of it. It wasn't a bad weekend for us. It was a bad weekend for a lot of other people that cover college football, though. And I think, again, if we just look at the 30,000-foot view of a lot of this, there's no denying that there's a lot of people out there that hate the SEC and really don't like Alabama. But I don't think that comes as much of a surprise to anybody. But now Kalen DeBoer, if we just look at what he has accomplished as a head coach, because this is my favorite thing, is this coach is leaving, we don't want him anymore, and then you win one game and everybody starts throwing all the stats at you of why they're so great. And if you're like me and you always liked Kalen DeBoer and thought that he was a good coach, then this is just, reaffirmation that you got the right guy there in Tuscaloosa. So Kalen DeBoer is now 20-5 versus ranked teams as an FBS head coach. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
20-5.
That's pretty good.
At Alabama, he is 8-3 against ranked opponents. That's solid. He is also now 4-0. 4-0 against top 10 teams on the road in his career. He has never lost a road game against a top 10 team ever.
Come on now.
Ever. And he now owns, I guess there's now 2, but he was the first coach to win a road game in the college football playoff. And that's one of those stats where you sit there and you're like, that's impressive. And you're like, oh, well, it's like 2 years.
2 years, yeah, but still.
It's still something.
It's impressive.
It's still something. So I think a lot of people should feel a lot better about Kalen DeBoer on this Monday than maybe they did on last Friday going into it. But yeah, certainly seems like that talk has died down now with Michigan and Kalen DeBoer. Kenny Dillingham, another big name there in that list. He signs an extension at Arizona State over the weekend, so it looks like he's off the board. And so now you just wonder, do they go, we've heard Kyle Whittingham, he's a free agent now. Is that somebody that potentially they start to look into and have discussions with? Clark Lee was a name that we heard come up later last week as maybe another name to monitor. I've heard Eli Drinkwitz's name thrown out there again. But now I guess the newest name that's been thrown in the mix, and I don't think anybody should be surprised because it's just like the Penn State job, but now Josh Heupel's name is being thrown in the mix as well. So Michigan trying to figure out where to go from here. And look, they're going to find a good coach. It's not going to be Kalen DeBoer. And that's what we've told you for the last couple of weeks. And I think that win on Friday certainly sealed the deal there. So that's what's going on with that search. But Kalen DeBoer happily in Tuscaloosa, leading the Crimson Tide into the quarterfinals of the college football playoff. Let's hear from the coach real quick here. Let's hear some of his comments after the game on Friday. We'll start here. This is Kalen DeBoer just talking about this Alabama team's resiliency coming back from down 17-0.
Couldn't be more proud of these guys. The resiliency, it's been kind of a theme all season long, but showed up tonight in a big way on the road, down 17 and, coming back the way we did, just one score at a time and just really stayed the course. Each side of the ball had their moments and big plays, and we just kept plugging away. But it's last night we talked about it being a team that's going to have to come out here and play together, and that's exactly what I saw tonight. And so couldn't be more proud of these guys.
So there you go, Kalen DeBoer talking about his team's resiliency and that comeback win on Friday in Norman. We spent a good bit of time talking about him in the first segment, but Latsier Brooks, the freshman, coming through with 2 touchdowns for Alabama, the leading receiver for the Crimson Tide. Just really a fantastic game by him. And this is Kalen DeBoer talking about his true freshman receiver and his performance on Friday.
The guy, he's got twitch, he's got, the ability to separate, and then he's really good with the ball in his hands. And so I think you saw a little bit of all that happen, whether it would be on third down, there in the first half, the touchdowns, winning before you catch the ball, and the other one winning after you have the ball in your hands. And so love the energy he brings. He's pretty loose, easy going, and sometimes I make sure I got to reel him in a little bit. But man, that's when he's at his best. So just let him be who he is. Kind of figuring out your players as you go through the season. He came out and had a great game, and you can see him and Ty really connecting and being on the same page.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He had his breakout game on Friday, and certainly somebody that have a lot more eyes on him in the Rose Bowl against Indiana after that performance against the Sooners. All right, let's wrap up with this one. This one's a little fun. This isn't Kalen DeBoer, but this is Ty Simpson and Deontay Lawson after the game. So there was a moment in between the third and fourth quarters where 50 Cent came out. And me and Damien were talking the break. I didn't know that 50 Cent was – I didn't know that.
Didn't know there were any ties to Norman, Oklahoma.
I was say he's a big New York guy, so I didn't – I don't know how you get to Norman from there, but okay. So anyways, he comes out between third and fourth quarters. He performs the song Many Men, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. Great song, by the way. But he comes out there, he performs, he's trying to pump up the crowd. And to be fair, right, like it did right after that, because I think that's when Oklahoma went and scored to make it a 3-point game. Like they got a little juice after he came out there and played. But you could also see when you're watching on TV, the Alabama players were loving it. Like this was not a oh crap, they're bringing out 50 Cent, like they're about to get hyped up. Like the Alabama players were loving it, and there's a very specific reason why they loved it. So this is Ty and Deontay Lawson after the game talking about that moment and why the Alabama players maybe got a little juice from 50 Cent as well.
No, we didn't expect 50 Cent to show up, but crazy thing about that is we always listen to Many Man on Friday, so we definitely got some juice right there for sure.
I'm going to be honest. I didn't know that was 50 Cent until later, but I did know that song. So,
and I didn't know it was live.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you have it. So Deontay Lawson tells you, yeah, that's kind of the
theme,
kind of the song that we listen to before we go out and do battle every weekend.
It's a tone setter for sure.
It's just funny that because, I had seen on social media, I guess there was that rumor that 50 Cent was going to be there and Oklahoma people were getting real excited about it. And it's like you had the one rapper come and do the one song that was going to motivate your opposition. Just kind of funny how that things work out like that sometimes.
An unintended consequence.
Yes, but it was still a cool moment. Cool to see 50 out there.
Yeah,
and,
it was dope.
Just kind of maybe backfired a little bit. On motivating Alabama as well, but a cool moment there nonetheless. I thought that was a fun moment after the game with a little bit of a backstory on why that maybe didn't work out quite the way that Oklahoma had intended it to. But still a lot more we can talk about with this game. We want to hear from you, 205-834-9450. We also have 3 other games from the weekend to talk about, and the quarterfinals are set. I'll just say it, some much more interesting matchups are on the way for New Year's. We'll dive into some of those and the rest of the games from the weekend. That's next here on Morning Jocks. It is a holly jolly Monday if you're an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. Welcome back in to Morning Jocks here. Conrad and Damian with you until 7 o'clock when we'll hand you off to McElroy and Kubelik in the morning, get their thoughts on the weekend that was in the college football playoff. And we're going to get to some of your text here in just a moment about Alabama and their big comeback victory over the weekend. But we do also need to quickly, and I say quickly because not really a whole lot worth talking about in two of these games, but get to what happened over the weekend outside of Alabama and Oklahoma, because there were three other playoff games over the weekend, and we'll just run through these two real quick. Ole Miss, they beat Tulane 41-10. They come out absolutely on fire. I mean, chunk play, chunk play, chunk play. It was
quick.
Business as usual
Yes.
for old Hottie Toddy there. So I know Damien happy to see his favorite team in the world.
Yes, sir.
Lifelong Ole Miss fan. You've waited 29 years for this,
Long
Damien.
time, brother.
And now you get to see them get a college football playoff win. So, but look, I was happy for Pete Golding and those guys. It was cool to see them go out there. And, again, it really didn't look any different. Ole Miss just roll the ball out there and let's go and play, and they took care of business. So they get a 31-point win over Tulane. And then you had the other game, the late night game, which, look, I'll give James Madison credit, right? They at least on the box score made it look interesting, right?
Oh,
like they put up a fight. Like they went out there and showed that, hey, we're not going to win this game, but we're going to, we can put up some points.
That score is deceiving.
Yes, it is. Because Oregon absolutely slaughtered them, but the final score was 51-34. So you go and look, and you're like, oh, they kind of did some damage. But trust me, Oregon was never worried about any. They were never worried about this whatsoever. Offensively, Oregon torched them.
It wasn't even close.
It was embarrassing. But I mean, you do have to give credit to them offensively. Like they showed. I mean, they got some dudes out there. They can go and play.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. So, look, I know. You're not going to be happy, even though you're James Madison. You're not taking a moral victory. I know Bob Chesney, that's not going to be his style, but I think you can be proud with the effort you put forth. And certainly, as far as the conversation goes around eliminating Group of 5 teams from the college football playoff, at least James Madison can go, hey, we put up a fight. Tulane didn't put up a fight. That was embarrassing performance by them. They had no life whatsoever. But James Madison actually, they went out there. They showed they did about as well as you could expect a Group of 5 team to do in that.
It was an evident talent gap. Like it was evident from the jump.
Massive.
Woo. James Madison, we appreciate you, but we got to have a real conversation about the G5. No, not anymore.
No, we got to move.
We have to. We have to get the 12 best teams in this college football playoff. And again, no disrespect to what Tulane and James Madison did in their regular season, but especially in Tulane's part, we've seen that Ole Miss matchup twice.
I'd much rather see Ole Miss and Notre Dame. That'd be a great game.
Yeah, you lost by 35 the first time, and you lost by 31 in the college football playoff. It could not happen.
Now, if you're Ole Miss, you probably are happy you played Tulane. But
absolutely. Listen, a win is a win in our case.
Oh, yeah.
We'll take it. But, yeah, we got to have a conversation about the G5. It's
Yeah, it's
done.
Look, and we've talked about it on this show. We've talked about it on other shows on this station. But, for a while now, and we talked about this last year. You need to have your own playoff for them. And it's nothing against them. It's just, you can watch it out there. It's not fair. It's not fair, and it's not entertaining football. It's not. Like, I'll be completely honest with you. I had the Oregon game on in the background while I was doing other stuff most of the time because I knew quickly. I didn't need to watch it after the first quarter. I knew exactly what that was it. That was the game. And it was very similar for Ole Miss and Tulane. So, just not competitive matchups. They got to figure something out there. And I know even if we move to 16, they'll be better again. But as long as these teams are included, you're going to have, again, you just shouldn't have college football playoff games where it's going into it that someone's going to lose by at least 20. Like that.
There shouldn't be 17 to 21 point underdogs in a playoff game. No, it just you can't have those.
No, the most you should have is like what you're looking at right now with Miami and Ohio State, where Ohio State's like a 10-point favorite.
Right.
Like, and even like that's as far as you should ever really see that number go, I feel like, in a playoff setting. But there'll be plenty of time to talk about that. But now it is at the forefront now, and it feels like a lot of people are going to start having that conversation, asking those tough questions about what the future of the playoff will hold. So those games went as expected. One game that didn't go as expected, maybe not in terms of who you thought was going to win, but just the score and the way the game went. Miami and Texas A&M. So Miami, big credit to Mario Cristobal and the Canes as they go into Kyle Field and walk out a victor 10-3. Again, this is watching this game and trying to explain to people like why it was a good football game. It's like if you watch, if you watched a no-hitter with somebody that didn't like baseball, they're going to think that is the most boring game you could have ever possibly, like, nothing happened. Why was that entertaining? Well, you have to understand the intricacies of the game, and it's just a different kind of style, but it's impressive. It's just different. And that's kind of how I looked at this game, right? Defensively, absolutely incredible. I'll say this. I was really impressed more so with Texas A&M almost than Miami, because Miami's defense is good. Texas A&M's is not as good. But the way that it was a dogfight.
Yes.
The entire time. And credit to both of those defenses and the way that they played. But at the end of the day, the difference is Miami had Mark Fletcher Jr., and Texas A&M did not, because he had 17 carries for 172 yards to lead the way for Miami, and that was really the story of it, right? They were able to run all over Texas A&M. Texas A&M didn't have much of a run game. Marcel Reed looked like the worst parts of Marcel Reed from this year, had a couple of turnovers, and that's really all that she wrote there. So you had opportunities late. You had the big fumble by Malachi Toney. It felt like maybe A&M was going to take that and go get a lead late in the game, but they don't, and I'm just, you're watching that game, you see that fumble happen, and you see Malachi Toney go on the bench, and he looked like he was crying. Like he was tore up. But you watched all of his teammates go over there and talk to him. And I'm sitting there in that moment, and I think most of us watching that game went, that guy's going to score. And I don't know how, but he is going to be the reason they win this football game. And I'll be darned, Malachi Toney gets a jet sweep, takes it in for a touchdown. Only touchdown in the game. That's what gets Miami the win there. 10-3. So credit to Miami. Again, it was ugly at times. It was sloppy at times. Carson Beck only threw for 103 yards, but he didn't turn the ball over.
Nope.
And he ran the ball well.
And then the elements kind of kicked in. The wind
was bad.
The wind was brutal. I'm not gonna say I feel bad for him, but the kickers had a struggle.
They had a bad day.
They did.
Connor Talty, the best kicker in the first round of the playoffs. Who would have guessed it? And I'm not even saying that sarcastically.
No, it's a fact. But that Miami Texas A&M game, it was old school football and just kind of the new age in which we live in. But Malachi Toney, Mark Fletcher Jr., when their numbers were called, they made big time plays.
Yep.
And like you said, to Marcel Reed's point, the game was a microcosm of how he was all season long. It's when he makes plays, he is absolutely amazing. But then the lulls, like they are just terrible. They're bad.
Yep.
That last throw on the in the red zone, the interception.
Oh, it was bad.
It was brutal. Like you just can't.
Threw it into like triple coverage
You
in the end
can't
zone.
make that throw. And the thing is with Marcel Reed, and maybe it's the system, maybe he's not. He has to use his legs more. Not saying that he has to be Cam Newton style running the ball, but man, when you're offered green grass and your feet are getting hot, your legs are your best ability at that point. Make something happen, because I think that's what's going to take him to that next level, because that interception was bad. I think that it's frustrating when your offense finally has a little bit of pulse. You're getting, especially you had 0 timeouts. You ran the 2-minute drill almost perfect. You put yourself in a position to score a touchdown, and then you finish it up with a turnover, and that sealed the deal. And really and truly, you look at this Texas A&M season, there were great moments, but when your team, when you needed it the most in 2 weeks against Texas and against Miami, against quality competition, you didn't step up to the plate. So it's kind of, you can relish and think about, hey, we had such a great run, but the last 2 games of the season are really going to sting.
They are who we thought they were.
100%.
And you won 11 games. You can feel good about that, but it's, unfortunately, if you're an A&M fan, one of the emptiest 11-win seasons that I can remember in a while, because you didn't make it to the conference title game, which you've never done still. You don't have a conference championship game appearance, a conference championship game win. You don't have a playoff win. You lost to your rival. You're
right.
You beat Notre Dame at the beginning of the year, which was a great game and a great win.
Mm-hmm.
When you look back on this year, that was it. That was your moment. And they come up short. And, a lot of people, look, I think they were ahead of schedule this year. I don't think a lot of people were expecting them to be in this spot, so you're happy about that, and you feel good about the future. But I think similar to Oklahoma, man, you're happy you got there. You maybe overachieved a little bit this year, but you felt like there was more left for you to accomplish, and you just, when push came to shove at the end, just couldn't quite make it happen there. So congratulations to Miami. They get a big win, and now the quarterfinals are set. So you're going to get on New Year's Eve, you're going to get Miami and Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. And then on New Year's Day, you're going to get a trio of games. You'll have Oregon, Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl, Alabama, Indiana in the Rose Bowl, and then Ole Miss and Georgia, a rematch there in the Sugar Bowl. So going to be a lot of fun. And of course, next week we'll have a lot of time to break down all of those games for you there. But we do want to dedicate the rest of this time to you and your calls and texts, 205-834-9450. We go to the phone lines and the Courtesy GMC text line next on JOX. A little Mariah Carey coming back here on a Reaction Monday on Morning Jocks. Conrad and Damien here with you for a few more minutes before we hand you off to McElroy and Kublik in the morning. Going to get to some of your calls and text here, get your reaction to the first round of the college football playoff, and, of course, Alabama, their big comeback win in Norman on Friday. So we'll start on the courtesy GMC text line. This text, it rolls in. It says, DeBoer is also the first coach to win a college football playoff game with two different teams.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Roll Tide. And also, what did Washington say? Go Huskies or home?
Something like that.
Husky fast?
Yeah.
That's you and Trust. My fault.
Something like that. Something like that. Drake chimes in and says, I'm glad Tulane's season is now over so John Summerall can get on to Gainesville.
Oh, yeah. He was already in Gainesville. His head. From his performance, from his team's performance on Saturday, he was already in Gainesville. Mentally.
Yeah, that was
But I will say
rough.
he did it. The way he's gone about his exit at Tulane is very commendable. Like he's giving money back. He's written, some letters, and he's going about it extremely classy. So a lot of love to John Summerall on the way he's doing it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Don chimes in this morning, says, Happy Monday, guys. Congratulations to Alabama and Ole Miss for moving on. Also to Miami. Now they need to get rid of the Group of Five's automatic bids. What would be wrong with a 4-team playoff for these teams to have their own conference or their own Group of Five champion? Yeah, we talked about that. I think that's certainly not a bad idea moving forward. And speaking of Don did want to mention quickly, if you missed the news over the weekend for Auburn, but Ashton Daniels and Kayan Lee both planning to enter the transfer portal. So a little bit of Auburn news this weekend, but now you've got Deuce Knight in your quarterback room, and that's it. And then you have your top two cornerbacks are both now in the portal as well. So
it's gonna look a little different.
I was about to say, going to look a little different, but Alex Golish, I'm sure, has a plan, and we will see what that plan may be. This text rolls in. It says, Daniel Hill has the potential to be one of the best running backs in the country. If he gets enough touches, he can't get any rhythm if he only touches the ball 6 or 7 times a game. Appreciate you chiming in there.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know about one of the best in the country, but in terms of what you have in the room right now, he's got some juice.
Yeah.
He's got some juice. Let's see. Jamie chimes in. He says, good morning, guys. On my prediction is that Alabama is not done yet. I feel like they're going to shock Indiana, which won't be a shock to the Alabama fans because we are the standard of college football. We have to remember that, but I do think the hill is too big to climb with a lack of a running game. Alabama needs to recruit better linemen off and defensively, offensive and defensive linemen, and they look towards next year and the years to come with the coaching staff. Roll Tide, great win. Look forward to the Rose Bowl. Okay. So Jamie's already sipping the Kool-Aid that Alabama's going to go in there and take care of business against Indiana. Somebody says, talk about the flags they didn't throw, just so many on Oklahoma. I'll be honest. I thought the officiating in that game on Friday was terrible, and I'll be the first person to tell you. There were a couple times that Alabama definitely false started and they didn't call it.
100%.
Just like there were a couple times. I mean, early on in that game, dude almost had Isaiah Horton stripping his jersey off, and they in front of the ref. Like the ref is looking at it, and he doesn't call it. Then you have the sideline penalty, which I guess that could go either way. But it looked to me like the coach was on the sideline, and the ref just ran into him because he wasn't paying attention to where he was
50 yards down the field.
It was just.
What?
I'll be honest. I was sitting there at one point going, you know what, Auburn fans, I understand. I understand because some of the officiating was bad. And I know some people were, R. Mason Thomas was getting held by Caden Proctor. We can go back, and I'm sure we can find plenty of opportunities where Oklahoma was holding a guy for, it is what it is. So,
but the false starts, though, it was.
The false starts, well, and there was the one on the throw to Isaiah Horton that it was like.
Oh, yeah.
It was a false start, but it is what it is. All right, let's go to the phone lines real quick. Let's go to Deacon up in Northport. Wants to chime in on Alabama this morning. How we doing, Deacon?
What's going on, Conrad? Hello, Hotty Toddy.
What's happening, brother?
We're having a fantastic morning.
Absolutely.
I've got to say, with 8 minutes left in the first half of that ball game Friday night, I was sharpening my shovel to dig the third room of my Oklahoma hole in the backyard. And I was also freshening up my 4-letter words. However, the play to me, if y'all remember, the third down pass, we hadn't had a first down yet. The kid Brooks turned himself into a pretzel to turn around and catch that pass.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like every time we have to have something, that kid is just, he's there. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't know that I've seen as good a catch as Jeremy Bernard's catch since pro throw.
I was
against
about to say
Southern.
it was like pro throw with no injury, thankfully. So yeah, it was
On his head, baby.
incredible. Thank you, Deacon. Sorry, we got to run. We're back tomorrow. Mac and Cube is up next.